Hello everyone! Today's video is gonna be about Vasyl Ivanchuk, who just turned 56. We're gonna try to celebrate his birthday. Who doesn't know, Vasyl Ivanchuk is one of the strongest chess players of last 30 years. He was a world rapid and blitz chess champion. He was very close, really that close, to become world FIDE chess champion, but he lost his match against Ponomarev. He won chess Olympiads in Ukraine national team, won many tournaments, beat down Kasparov, Karpov, Kramnik, Carlsen, plenty of world champions. So the man is a true legend. His playing style is amazing, and he's like pretty genius, I would say. And right now Ivanchuk still plays tournaments, and for now he's playing in European Chess Championship in Romania. There were like 3 rounds for now that we have, and just to celebrate his birthday, I suggest you to take a look at his games from this tournament, because all of them were kind of interesting, entertaining, educational. So let's get started. And in the first round he played against Israel chess player Guy Gove, and the rating difference between players is pretty impressive. However, in such tournaments like European Chess Championship, it's pretty hard anyway to win against everybody. So how the game started: e4, e6, French defense, and Ivanchuk plays c5, one of the best lines according to the engine at least. He doesn't go for any like sneaky moves, for example like knight c6 or knight f6 that exist in these positions, or bishop e7, plenty of moves in the starter defense. He plays c5, and after ed, normally queen d5 is the strongest move, because you can try to play for a win if your opponent is not some super nerd in the theory. But Ivanchuk plays ed, trying to choose some chill play, where he will most likely have an isolated pawn on d5 after pawn trade. And that's, what happened in the game. After knight f3, which is the most casual move, because white doesn't want to take the pawn until this bishop moves, trying to force him to play twice in a row, wasting time, and not letting him do the same move bishop c5 in one run. And here Ivanchuk plays kind of unexpected move a6, which is one of the main theoretical lines, because normally people go or knight c6, more likely, or knight f6. And after knight c6, white playing bishop b5. So the move a6 is kind of tricky, because not so clear what to do for white right now, because bishop b5 is not an option because the square is covered. Taking the pawn will develop the bishop with the tempo. Spoiler, that's exactly what happened. And playing, let's say, something like bishop d3 is also not great, because black can gain a lot of space, reinforce pawn structure, so a6 move in this particular line really comes in handy. Instead, dc was played, bishop takes c4, bishop d3, Ivanchuk plays queen e7, his opponent also seems to be prepared, plays queen e2, knight c6, and queen's about to get traded. The question is who will take first. In the positions when you have an isolated pawn, IQP, usually you tend to create an attack. Without queens it would be harder to do. However, when you have an isolated pawn, it's pretty nice to trade heavy pieces, because then you can reduce the damage, and for your opponent it would be almost impossible to win it easily. What happened in the game is a3. Normally theory says that knight b3 is the best move, and it looks quite reasonable, attacking the bishop, developing pieces. However, a3 also just fine. Queen e2, Ivanchuk after 16-minute thought decided to take. His opponent takes with the bishop. However, maybe it was better to take with the king to develop the rook ASAP. In the game, knight e7, knight b3 was played, some development, both of the players do not really rush. Ivanchuk creates a threat to the pawn, and just moving it forward would be rather a mistake, because there will be a fork in this position. Rook d2 happened, defending, and right now Ivanchuk needs to do something to win the game, because if it's gonna be a draw in the first round, I guess he will not complain, but I would be disappointed if I played a draw with the guy with 300, with some like small change as well. rating points, so he needed to create the pressure, and he starts it with a very quiet move h6. And you might say, okay, that's a lift for the king, he can run away, there will not be back rank made. However, here comes g5, immediately creating pressure on the opponent, trying to force him to make a mistake somehow. Or let's say the bishop will go to g3, where he will be kind of vulnerable, maybe somewhere the knight will attack him. And white kinda scared, white plays bishop e3, trying to offer the bishop trade, because this bishop is pretty annoying, and he controls lots of important squares in the center, and dark squares in general on the queen side rather weak for black. Bishop e3 takes, b6 was played, and this is a prophylaxis against any knight jumps, trying to put pawns opposite to the color of the bishop so that this bishop couldn't attack, plus dark squares were weak, so black trying to fix this situation. And right here, white could try at some moment to fight for activity, and if this guy played against lower rated opponent, I guess he would consider moves like h4, for example, trying to ruin the pawn structure, maybe then try to reposition the knight, which is a pretty typical maneuver when we have h6, g5, a6, b5 pawn structures to undermine it with the flank pawns to disconnect pawns or create some holes. But right here, white says, okay, I'm playing the great chess legend, let's be as solid as possible, so knight bd4 was played. Ivanchuk plays bishop e4, reinforcing the pawn structure, and again, white absolutely confident in everything, trading everything off, playing c4, which is not a great concept. Don't play like that. When you're even playing against stronger opponent, play from the position you are having. If you have some advantage, if your opponent has some weaknesses, if you have ways to pressure your opponent, you need to pressure your opponent, and no matter what the rating gap is, because ratings just numbers very often, and if you will pressure opponent who is way higher rated than you are, of course, I mean, he might get scared and really panic and maybe not, pull everything together and even lose. But right here, white trying to like, okay, I'm playing Ivanchuk, first round, let's make a draw. And after trading off, yeah, white has weak pawn, which is an isolated pawn on e3, but it's very hard to get, and I'm pretty sure white was already like excited about the fact of making a draw. And here Ivanchuk really plays very deep and very well, because many players would probably play b5, which isn't bad, but probably white will coordinate things, try to get some equality. Ivanchuk tries to change the balance. He takes bishop f3, and you might say, okay, well, what the hell is he doing? Why did he give up this bishop for the knight? Position is open, and I heard that bishops are way stronger in open position, which is true. But his idea is to try to get in balanced position, because when you're playing against lower rated opponents, sometimes you need to take small risk to get the position which would be not that obvious for him and try to outplay him there. That's what Ivanchuk is doing. He plays a5 so that the bishop couldn't attack pawns, which would happen in case of b5, let's say. Then bishop d5 could be an option, trying to limit the knight. However, black would centralize the king first, try to move the knight, and it wouldn't be really big of an issue. And in this bishop versus knight positions, what matters a lot is king's activity. So white tries to centralize the king, both of the players centralize it, and here Ivanchuk goes for a knight b7 idea, trying to go to the pawn game, and we will see why he's about to do it later. But for now, it's worth mentioning that probably f5 made more sense, because after king d4, king here, we might try to kick away the king from the fourth rank and have some chances also to push for a win. But Vasyl plays pretty interesting way. He plays knight b7, kinda inviting the king of white over, then he plays knight d6, threatening this bishop. White could try to go back, which probably black would try anyway to start pushing, but white tries to go to the pawn game, which engine says it's a good decision because the position objectively is drawish. But if you're familiar with the pawn games, with some concept, you might have heard that there is such thing like outside passed pawn. And right now you might say, okay, where is it? I don't see it. However, if we look a little bit closely, we can see that if black starts pushing pawns on the queen side, it will lead exactly to the situation when black will have outside passed pawn, and that's what Ivanchuk was playing for. And when I saw this game, I was like really delighted to see it, because very nice way to pressure. Plus, if we look at the time, Vasyl playing really fast, because he has 49 minutes on the clock, his opponent down to 10, so the time gap is pretty big. And right here, king d6 is played, and white plays king b5, activating the king, and here Ivanchuk plays a 5. The move very provocative. He say, want a pawn? Take it, I don't care. It's like, just eat it, then eat another one. But by the time you do it, I will just promote my own pawn. So he bets on one only horse that can win the race right here. And here white needed to really have some good calculations, because white needed to play before in this position, which was the only saving move, with an idea that right now black is not really in time with this idea, because after taking, h5, b5, h4, king a7, g3 takes, we can clearly see that right here black doesn't win. Although it would be funny if there was no pawn, or if this pawn was a bit further, this would be a win, because this would be a check. However, right now after this check, the position is absolutely drawish, because this pawn is about to fall and position will be equal. However, yeah, 7 minutes, you playing chess legend, and I mean, white decided to gamble, put everything on red, but unfortunately this really didn't work very well for him. Ivanchuk plays a4, great move. Why did he do it? He wants to steal time, because if he played instantly g4, still white will have some before option without time waste. But after a4, white cannot anymore play before, because there is a rule on chess and passant capture, and therefore white needed to go here. And already right now, after g4 taking, king a4 doesn't work, because the king is definitely not in the square of the passed pawn, and for white to create a passed pawn, it will take ages. Therefore, white panics, what am I gonna do? He plays king c4, king e5, and right now everything turned upside down. And even though white is up a pawn, this pawn is a total garbage, because these two pawns blocked by this one, and going for a breakthrough is not really a case, because this pawn will promote. And after king e2, king e4, Vasyl just won very confidently. Right here it was possible to eat all of these pawns, but he played just nice. He went for another pawn, keep in mind that pawns on the queen side stopped, and he managed to win the game. Because right now, funny part, after king h1, king h3, this is called semi-stalemate. And the idea of the semi-stalemate that the king stalemated, only pawns can move, and it can hurt the position of white. Great win, I really enjoyed it. Write in the comments, do you think it was a great game? Because I really love it, how easy, how light it was done, like it was, I mean, just toying around with his opponent. Next game was a real thriller and roller coaster, so don't turn it off, it's gonna get even more interesting. He's playing against French player Travadon, or I mean, I'm not good in pronouncing names, so sorry if I spelled it wrong. d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3. It can be queen's gambit, it could be some Nimzo, it could be Bogolubov, Bogo-Indian stuff. But right here, d5, knight c3, and again, variety of choices. Rogozin with bishop before, c6, Slav, dc, weird variations, like some Vienna and stuff, blah blah blah, bishop e7, queen's gambit. Many options, but right here c5 was played, which is a Tarrasch defense. Idea is that black wanna fight for the center. Engines say that it's pretty good on the top level, and like 2600 GMs, it happens quite often, and yeah, like many ways. People normally like take CD. Nowadays ED became more popular, although before it was 95. A lot of theoretical lines, like with different captures, different ideas, but Ivanchuk says, I don't want to commit in the center, I will play e3, reinforce it, if you want to take me, okay, I will have a position with an IQP, as we can see, a pattern previous game, IQP this game, potentially also IQP, but his opponent plays a6, and according to the time he spent, definitely he was prepared. Ivanchuk plays CD, which is a very good idea to do when you have a four-way in the center, usually with c4, c5, d4, d5, you want to take from the flank to the center, because after taking it, if your opponent takes like this, later on you will have a center by e4, but if he takes with the pawn as it happened in the game, later on we might have an opportunity to take this pawn, creating an isolated pawn on d5, and usually playing against isolated pawn, I would say easier than playing with it. In the game b3 was played, many moves, bishop e2, bishop d3, even g3 people play sometimes. Black wanna develop pieces and try to start an attack. And right here after bishop g4, honestly speaking, I would probably take and try to play against this IQP. Okay, just to show you what might happen. Let's say we can go here, normally black goes bishop a7, then they try to centralize pieces and try attacking. However, white tries to create pressure against d5 pawn. But it's a good scenario for black, because they played pretty fast, confidently, didn't lose any time anywhere, and Ivanchuk goes for bishop e2, again, not spending a lot of time. His opponent trades, he is well prepared, everything done quickly, and right now white has a bishop pair, but normally when there are such isolated pawns in the centers and that face one another, it rather favors knights than bishops. Yeah, of course, it's like not the piece matters, but how you can use it and handle it, which this game will show perfectly what I mean. But yeah, it's like, in general, I would say black has no problems at all after the opening, and furthermore, black continues giving up these bishops for knights, trying to have two knights versus two bishops, because these knights can be very flexible and attack a lot on the central squares like e4. Dradia Engine recommended going bishop c3, but Ivanchuk tries trading queens. He's like, I'm playing with a young man, let's go to the endgame. There is even a quote in my native language about it. I don't know whether it's the same in English or not. After queen e7, take, white has bishop pair, but if there were no pawns in the center, it would be crushing position for white, bishops would tear apart everything. But right here, it's a bit doubtful, I would say. King d7, after some thinking, black plays to stay with the king in the center, which is logical because it's an endgame. And starting from now on, just enjoy what Ivanchuk is doing. He plays bishop d3, controls the center, potentially prepares bishop f5 so that rook c8 never popped up, because this will be a skewer. What happened next? Rook e8, he plays f3. Remember, I said there is a good square for the knight, and he takes it away. Right now, yes, it creates a weakness on e3, but it's pretty hard to use it, because after it we can defend it and easily get rid of this rook. And right now, with the bishop pair, he kinda doesn't let knights play, and he's trying to take space, he's trying to open up the position. g6, g4, again taking space, not letting knights dominate. Rook e3, rook d1, h5, trying to undermine the pawn structure, king f2 is played, rook e8. Right here it doesn't work, but sometimes in such positions tricks like bishop e4 can work. Right now it's insane because this bishop is hanging, but just like for viewers who want to improve in tactics, when there are two rooks, one on the front line and it's attacked, you can try to use this thing called interference. But right here it doesn't work because, as I said, bishop is hanging. He kicks away the knight because he takes more space. He plays a4. Okay, he blocked right here, he understands that playing f4 is too dangerous because there will be a huge hole right here, so he creates a second weakness. He's trying to open up the position so that the bishops felt more comfortable. Rook e6, b4, continue taking space, and right here b5. And after ab, let's say after primitive AB, already position kinda stings, because this bishop, out of like ugly duck, right now beautiful swan. He's like on a very nice diagonal, we have plenty of open files diagonals, and all the pieces working well, especially bishops. But Ivanchuk came up with something original, because his playing style is, amazing, sometimes very creative. He plays rook b1, trying to say, you want a pawn? Take it. I will play rook b7 and mate your king, coordinate my pieces. Bishop, rooks, all of them are long-range pieces, and they can coordinate, play together very well. In the game, b4 happened, bishop takes b4, knight takes b4, rook takes b4. Probably right here black thought, okay, one bishop is gone, it's gonna be easier, but no, not really. And how the game continued: king c7, rook b1, rook b8. Rook b5 is played, because right here Ivanchuk had an idea of playing a5, a6, trying to create a pressure on this backward or isolated pawn. But knight c6 probably really disturbed him much, so he plays rook b5 using prophylaxis, very deep and nice thinking. Right now knight cannot really go here. After it, rook c6, and he plays a5. In the long run, we again threatening a6. White plays rook c3, and what happens here? Ivanchuk doesn't defend this bishop, he doesn't move it back, he doesn't play king e2, just say, you wanna fight? Let's go, a6. He just strikes with this move, inviting him, take my bishop, and yeah, I promise you nothing here, I just blunder it. Of course I'm joking, because the idea is to play a7, rook b7, and destroy everything on the 7th rank. And right now black probably needed to play b6, position already stinks a lot, and white decides, okay, let's take it. Actually, I don't know why didn't he spend any time, maybe he was trying to pressure Ivanchuk in the time trouble, which is a good idea, because Ivanchuk here spent the whole 7 minutes calculating this sequence. And he plays a7, by the way, it's move number 32, after move number 40 he will get 30 additional minutes, but right now he's on a very short clock. Rook c8, right here king b8, and right here king d8, and right here I don't understand what happened, because there is one super obvious move that Ivanchuk didn't play. You might say rook b8, however it's not, because there is rook a3, and after taking we rather lose the pawn. Right here we have a rook a1 move. And I don't know, maybe some ghosts Ivanchuk saw, maybe something really confused him, but I don't really see how black even gonna play. We just threatening a8. Rook a8 doesn't work because we just shoot it with the rook b8 check and winning everything. This check on d2 we can even calmly go to the back rank, so I don't know, maybe it's an age, because 56 is a like pretty big number, I'm gonna say. I wish I played like this when I will be 56, if I ever be at all. So rook e1 is played, and this is like a mistake in the time trouble, pretty nervous move. Knight c6, rook a1, rook a8, rook f7, king e8, rook here, and after taking, Ivanchuk grabbing extra pawn, although this position theoretically drawish, and tangents say that it's drawish. Probably right here it was, but yeah, right here as I remember it was already it, but maybe rook a1 it was better not to play, maybe it was better just to take on f7 right now, try to infiltrate, try to be pragmatic, eat as many pawns as it was possible. However, even in this endgame, it's already move number 40 finally, Ivanchuk defends his pawn, but position is too passive. For some reason black goes for h4 break, white fixes the pawn, right now pawns of black are disconnected, and Ivanchuk right here tries doing magic one more time. He plays king e2, rook b3, rook a6, activating the rook, threatening this check, trying to win this pawn. Rook b2, king e3, so this is like a pawn trade, because white is about to win the pawn on d5, and what happens right here in this position? After f4, rook f1, king h2, rook f4, white goes king g3, rook f1, rook goes to e5, and right here what black really needed to do, black needed to be rather annoying in this position. Black needed to try to give different checks, not let white coordinate, keep the rook over here, not let to advance. Instead, what happened in this game is rook d1, and as you can see right here, it was a mistake, because right now the rook allows the king to come closer, but you can say, wait, this pawn is hanging, we need to do something, and Ivanchuk played the most reasonable d5 move, and right now again he's in the time trouble. I actually didn't notice, maybe they don't have increment. Okay, they did have increment in time, but probably it wasn't that big as I expected, or I don't know what really happened. Maybe I'm bad in regulations of this tournament. So, what was better to do? It was better to play rook e4, because right now rook f1 is not good. There is a check, and after trade we have an extra pawn in the pawn game, which is GG. And otherwise our king slides in, and after it we just have two weaknesses. One is our passed pawn, second one, this pawn is weak, and we can really try to attack from the side and have perfect winning chances. Unfortunately, Ivanchuk right here misses the shot, his opponent goes back. Right now, after d6, rook d2, rook here, white improves the position one more time right here, and the position looks a lot better right here. After rook f6, king g7, this was another moment where Ivanchuk could have won, basically. Right here he played king f4, and after rook e2 his king got cut, and it's very hard to overcome this barrier. However, we cannot really push this pawn because there is a rook d2 move. And instead, if he just played king f3, intending centralize it and not letting rook e2, he would also win. But right now, white blocks it, black blocks it. White tries to repeat moves, and black managed to win the pawn successfully, and unfortunately in such a dramatic way, in absolutely winning position, Ivanchuk losing his chance to win the game, and unfortunately it ends in a draw. Really, I mean, probably this French guy used all his luck for this tournament, even though he fought bravely, but yeah, it's like if Ivanchuk wasn't his prime, it would be like easy job, because like few moments where he could have won, and if not this like time trouble problem, it would be way easier for him. But still a great game, especially I love this moment how he handled these bishops, how he didn't let his knights, his opponent's knights, become any better, how he opened up the position, and all this pressure was amazing. Just a little bit more pace and playing faster would definitely help him get the second point. And we also have round number 3, which is a game against Romanian international master. Right here, I will not show the whole game. If you're interested, you can find it on chess.com on Lichess, but I will open it at some moment, and just to avoid some spoilers, it probably was around this moment. So it was a French. Ivanchuk played the opening not the best way. I'm not in love with that. And what we have? White has a pawn on c3, that is backward and weak. Black's piece is pointing at it and trying to win it. However, black has also problems, and right here it's a b7 pawn. At the same time, white has advantage in space. And by the way, Ivanchuk really learned something from the previous game, because if you look at the time, he has again 53 minutes, he was playing pretty fast, his opponent near the time trouble, pretty nervous probably. And right now, as we can notice, also the pawn is hanging. However, right here, white missed very strong resource, which probably white wouldn't miss if his opponent wasn't such strong player as Ivanchuk, but would be somebody of his level or even weaker, because queen b2 was the move. And you might say, okay, are you dumb? What you like trying to sell me? I clearly can see bishop a4 is the move. But if you right here can see the first moves of white, you might notice that after rook takes a4, queen takes a4, bishop b5, queen is trapped. And apparently black really having a lot of difficulties, because it's kind of possible to find a counterplay in a similar way like it happened in the game, but this queen could be a true menace and it would be a bit harder. But let's see, in the game bishop b5 was played. White is inviting black over to take, so that the rook became super active and it was very easy to attack these weaknesses. But right here, Ivanchuk entered beast mode. He plays queen f8 after some thinking. He attacks the rook. You can say, okay, he attacked the rook, and what? But right here, after bishop b5, rook b5, he gives white what he wants. So white took, okay, I don't understand, what do you want? I will win one of these pawns right now. And here Chucky plays f6. And he creates a second weakness. His all heavy pieces kinda have different like work on the queen side. And he says, I'm gonna just try to turn the game upside down and start attacking you on the other flank. And usually in the time trouble, such decisions really blow your mind, because you are thinking one thing, your opponent starts playing on another wing, and it's very hard to continue somehow, because like you burn in time until at some moment you're just in a complete time trouble with seconds and you cannot think and you make mistakes. And right here, EF happened, knight d6, great intermediate move, trying to create a fork potentially if take. There is a forking opportunity right here. So white goes rook b3, white already, as you could see, played the last move with 5 seconds on the clock, knight comes to c4, rook a2, queen f6, and this is it. Like one little inaccuracy from white, this maneuver by queen f8 and f6 with Ivanchuk, and he starts roasting his opponent on the queen side. And right here, he prevents counterplay, he invites over his opponent to try to fix his pawn structure, because now this pawn is backward, and knight e4 would be a move, winning the pawn on c3. What happened next? White receiving knockdowns one after another, like in some boxing. Ivanchuk attacks the weaknesses everywhere. He's, by the way, already in the time trouble because he played pretty confidently just not to miss anything, and after final blow, knight d4, game was over because knight f3 is a forking threat, and after taking 2 extra pawns for such maestro is just easy work. So this is it, 3 rounds, 2.5 points. Right now Ivanchuk plays round number 4 against 2500 Grandmaster, and by the time I'm recording this video the game is not over yet. So again, congratulations to Ivanchuk with his birthday, wish him all the best, long life, a lot of great chess games so that he can really cheer us up with. Do you like the games? Please write any comments to again, celebrate the birthday of Ivanchuk, or to say which games you like the most. How do you think he will perform in this tournament? Because if I know correctly, it's 23 places at the European Championship go directly to the World Cup, and I would love to see such chess legends there. And see you next episodes. Goodbye.